place where visionary leaders build a life and business legacy on purpose through mindset, branding, marketing, sales, systems, and team so they can make an amazing impact and income and positively affect their communities worldwide. Ensure that you are sharing this show, you're subscribing, and you also are leaving us a review so we can create more amazing content around those areas to help you level up to the next level and also bring amazing guest experts that can share their knowledge and expertise with you so that you can create amazing legacy. All right, let's create legacy. Happy. What is today? Tuesday. Oh my God, the week is just breezing through. Thank you so much to those of you tuning in into our show. I'm back with you with another amazing show and a beautiful conversation with my guest, Kat Moulton. And today we're going to talk about focus. Focus is such a buzzword in business and in life in general nowadays with all the things that we have going on. I'm reading the book Essentialism actually, so this is so timely to have Kat talk about how to now focus on the right priorities that we have aligned for our life and business. So, Kat, thank you so much for coming on. This topic could not have been more timely, and I'm so grateful that you do this work day in and day out. So I appreciate all the amazing wisdom you have to share with us today.
Oh, well, Elona, thanks for having me on the show. I'm really excited to be here. I appreciate you and your work in the world. And I'm glad to serve your audience in any way I can. But focus, yeah, it took me a long time to figure that out. So I like to talk about how to focus.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's an ongoing exercise, honestly. An ongoing exercise, just like human development, I find, at least personally. But yeah, we will definitely appreciate all the experience that you or your perspective through that and the work that you do with your clients day in and out. So, Kat, let's start with an introduction. Tell me a little bit around the work you do and how did you get into the work that you're actually doing?
That's a great question. So the work I do coaching, if you will, but I do transformational integrative coaching. I work in different realms with traditional mindset, but I also do heart set, soul set, so people can build a new skill set and expand into what they want to expand. I kind of fell into it back in 2010. I was looking for a program in nutrition because my family, everyone had developed multiple food allergies, multiple asthma, and I was looking for a nutrition program, but it happened to be a coaching program. So it shifted the trajectory of my life. And I went to another coaching school, but I've learned over the last decade or so to hone my skills and integrate some stuff. And I tried real estate for a while. And what I love that you talk so much about purpose, because although I love real estate, I don't feel like it's my purpose. My purpose and my passion is really supporting people feel better, focus better, and function better, and using the skills that I have. So looking forward
Yeah.
to
Many times we have to test the waters so we can figure out what doesn't work for us so that we get closer to what is it that we really want. And it's a process, isn't it? It's a lifelong, I say, lifelong learners, and it's a lifelong process for sure. Integrative coaching. Tell me a little bit more about that. What is that specifically?
So specifically, it is, I found that traditional coaching just didn't work for me or some of my clients. I mean, it's great and it works for people, but I like to weave in a lot of energy work and somatic practices. Back in the 90s, I went to massage school and then I went on to polarity therapy. So I've learned about some of these things, and I've even gone to a lot of traditional therapy over the years, help me focus, to get my head on straight. And one of the things that I learned from that is like, people are like, Kat, just let go. Because when we're trying to focus, we have to let go of things that don't serve us. But they never gave me the skill set. How do I actually let go? So when I work with someone, I kind of like integrate. I try to meet people where they're at and what they're ready for. And maybe they need more mindset work. Maybe they need more energy work. Maybe they need, new skills. So I kind of integrate it, but really try to like, don't be so cookie cutter and help someone. What is it that would support them best to how could they let go so they can focus better? So that's what I mean by integrative. I just pull from different tools in my toolbox that I've learned over the last couple of decades and support people and serve them to what they really need.
Yeah, I love that the integrated. It kind of piqued my curiosity. That's why I asked, because I do find that in life, through our life experiences, whether it's our journey as entrepreneurs or other areas of our life, we're
Mhm.
always integrating, we're learning, we're growing, we bring in different perspectives, we bring in different experiences to the table, and as, let's say, people that choose to do the work that we're doing, I find that that is how we add value, right? Because
Yeah.
when we come from a different background, we have that perspective as well. And, the bigger the perspective shift, the more you can connect with people differently, but you also can help people shift in whatever area is it that you've chosen to help them transform their lives. So I love that word. And I think it's a lot of times I see that people just, this idea of, in the business especially world, of, okay, get known for one thing, stay focused, stay focused. I understand that, but I think what makes us beautiful is all these colors as humans
Mm.
we bring to the table. So the more we own that in our authentic brand, the more we will connect with the right people in our journey, whether, whatever purpose is it that you are focusing on. So absolutely beautiful, integrated. Love that word. So let's kind of take the topic of focus a little bit further. So I know I agree with you. Every time that someone tells me not to do something, it's where my mind really goes, or that I can't do the thing that someone tells me to do. So it's like almost like any force or anything does not work really, and I don't do well with pressure myself. So where do we start with the focus aspect of things, depending on everyone's goals? I know the journey of entrepreneurship, in order for you to be successful and to be saving your energy and working on purpose and all of that, focus is actually important. And I find the bigger the business grows, the more people I get to impact, the narrower the focus gets.
Mhm.
So it's almost
Right.
like that kind of equation. So what's your perspective on that? What have you learned that you could share with us?
Well, I've learned some of it through the School of Hard Knocks by learning what not to do, and I think that life experience is really valuable when we bring that to the table and can share a little bit of that. But what I've learned most about focus, and you mentioned that piece about focusing on just one thing. I have that book on my bookshelf. But how do we even know what to focus on? So one thing I do with people is really have them go inside to find out what matters to them most and get that clarity on what it is they want to do, how they're here to serve in their business or life. And when they get some of that clarity, it can help them both practically and energetically peel back the layers of the things they don't need so that they can know what to focus on. And then as we develop that clarity, we can set a bit of a future goal and then reverse engineer it and figure out what steps do I need to take, what actions do I need to do. And that's why I love the practical spirituality part of this, because we can't just sit in om or sit in visioning and not do anything. We have to actually take action as well and do it. So that's what I really help people do, is kind of hone in and peel back the layers so they can take not just action, but that inspired action or the action that's going to ideally get them to their next step or that goal that they started to vision when they cleared back some of the clutter. And maybe they need to focus on one thing, but maybe they also need to focus on a couple things or get support for those other things. And, I don't tell them what to do, but I help them really navigate it and figure it out.
Yeah, I love that. And you just reminded me, as you're speaking, of this concept that has been in my head lately about the macro, which is the vision, right? What are we
Mhm.
building ahead of time in the near future? And the micro details of the everyday, the process, which sometimes, it's not always smooth, right? And people losing focus between, or losing their purpose, or wanting to give up, or they get frustrated, or they get tired, burned out, all the things that happen to us as humans,
Mhm.
or sometimes it's the emotional state that we might
Yeah.
be in, and we lose as perspective in the macro. So kind of
Right.
switching back and forth between, I do this to myself all the time when we're all human, right? I mean, we're working
Mhm.
towards things don't maybe work out the way we want them to work out, or we just expect that something turns out a certain way, and we're like, what's the point of, because you're in the little hamster wheel of the everyday in the
Mhm.
macro. But step back and look at what you're trying to build and focus more on that, at least for me personally, has helped me kind of bridge the gap between the macro and the little tiny details of the
Yeah.
process to get to that.
Because it's both and, right? You've got to be able to juggle the both of those pieces, the macro and the micro. I love how you cut that up. Yeah.
Yeah, and coming out of it in the day to day, going up there, it's just kind of okay. Okay, I am reconnected again with why I'm building what I'm building, why
Mhm.
it's important to me. So I love that you mentioned that that's the deep work that you do with your clients as well with that. So, Kat, what about the aspect of the beating up we do to ourselves with our to-do lists or the things that we're supposed to do in the micro, day to day, and we don't always get to do all the things because as we're building our business, life is happening, we're lifing, happens
Real
all
lifing.
we're lifing and we're businessing. And there's a lot of, anxiety and fear. I feel this at times as well around like I'm supposed to be doing something with it, or you can't even rest and not working because you're just like, okay, if I don't move, nothing moves. So it's all these fear based, not
Yeah,
good enough uh, internal fears that usually come to the surface.
right.
What's your perspective on that? How can we share some information for people that are feeling that?
So that's a lot of the work that I do. And you bring up a great point. That fear thing, it's so prevalent and underlying for so many people. And it was for me. I mean, I was riddled with anxiety and I had to learn how to work with it, but it's in the collective as well. And what I would say that like that's some of the work is learning how to work with the fear and not let it stop us because it comes up and it's a normal human feeling. And I help people sometimes get under the hood of what is triggering that beyond just all the things. But I noticed that you said all the things we're supposed to do and we should do, and we
Mm.
don't take enough breaks. And I know that not everybody's a fan of that, but years ago I used to do a lot of Bikram yoga, and I remember the instructor saying that the rest is where the healing happens. And I also know like when we take the rests and the pauses, that's where the insights happen. That's where the magic happens of like, what is my real purpose? What is the thing I really want to be doing? So that I can turn around and like, are some of these things that I think I should be doing or I'm supposed to be doing? Maybe I'm not. And we can cross them off our list. But some of them we really do need to do to move our business forward. So I think that rest and that pausing can help give us the clarity of what we need to do and what we don't need to do. And if people are afraid to take a break or a rest, I would just invite them to do that. I mean, that really is the magic, even if it's just 5 minutes, and check in with yourself. What would benefit me to move next? But I find that working with language also helps. And that might be a different conversation or another point, but when we can shift our language, it can help us with all of that.
Well, let's go into that. That's a beautiful continuation to our conversation. So, what kind of language should we be implementing or look out for? Because
Look out for. That's a good question. I think look out for those words like woulda, shoulda, coulda. Like I should have done this. I would have done this. And if when we catch ourselves saying a word and there are other words, just notice it. A former coaching friend of mine who passed away, she used to call it the gift of noticing. Right. So just notice when we say these things. And she was like, "Don't should all over yourself. What do you want? What would benefit you?" So, you know, start to look at those and instead, I should do this, what would benefit me most? What would help me most focus? Not the things I should do, but, and then when we ask that new question, be open to the answer of like, what is the step or the practical thing that would help me get there? So if you're woulda, shoulda, coulda a lot, just notice that and maybe reach out to help with someone like Ilana or myself or someone who can help you make the shifts. But those are the words that the most common ones that come to mind. Another one is if you find yourself always saying, I'm afraid, any type of fear word, or I don't know, I'm afraid this could happen. Like if you're thinking too much in the future, notice that notice your relationship with fear and maybe take a step back and start to do some work around that because we shouldn't, here I go with the shoulds, but we really function better when we're not resonating in a place of fear. We all do. Right?
it's almost I find that we have to recreate some new words in our vocabulary
Yes.
because of our culture and our upbringing, and it's like so deep in there that It's like you got to catch yourself, and mindfulness is important. You got to. So
It
you
is.
said it. You got to. I mean, do you really have to? Who said that we have to?
No.
But
But
it's
if
just
we want to shift,
questioning everything.
right. But just that's what I mean by noticing, just being mindful of the language or and how can we shift it? So can I give a really practical tool that's not an energy tool that for people?
Of course, yes.
Okay. So I have a bracelet on right now, but if you wear like an elastic band around your arm, right? And you notice that the thing that, oh, I should do this. If that word slips out of your mouth, you can take the elastic band and like ping yourself with it.
Uh,
So
Yeah,
just pull it. So it's really calling attention to, oh, I should, but kind of switch it and put it on the other arm. But when you do that, to start reprogramming yourself, use a different word instead. Like find the word that resonates with you. And if it's a word that's like, oh, I would benefit by doing this, start to change the language. Or if I choose to do X, Y, Z instead. So just start to notice. And the more you ping yourself, you can notice if you are too much in that habit. And the act of switching it to the other arm is really that mindful act of like, I'm going to change my language or I'm going to change my perspective. So,
yeah. A beautiful exercise, and the more we do it, the more we'll get used to that for sure. Because we have a little pain,
I want to avoid the pain.
Well, I don't know why we would be always more motivated by pain than pleasure as humans, but it is what it is. And yeah, using all these tools to really help us be mindful of that process as well. And Kat, of course, because I have you here, I would love to hear your idea around energy. I know
Mm.
energy is like it's a field that fascinates me, and the more science, really studies these concepts, the more practical they actually become, and we know
Mhm.
when we see them in our day to day. How do we use energy to focus towards the right priorities once we have that clarity and we really feel like we're building our life on high intentionality and on purpose? How do we use energy with that?
So that's a great question. And I want to say, to quote Einstein, energy is everything, right? And one of the things you said earlier in the conversation was about emotions, because it's our emotions that sometimes get the better of us and shift us off focus. So I've learned from a colleague of mine that emotions are just energy. And when we learn to work with energy, we can start to shift our emotions. So there's many different techniques. One is breath, right? And that gift of noticing or that awareness piece, but using the breath instead of pinging ourselves and doing something painful, we can start working with energy that way. But I also help people or work with the chakra system, so
Mhm.
energetically. When I don't know if you know much about the chakras or your audience does, but of the seven main chakras, each one correlates to emotional dysfunction. It also correlates to physical dysfunction. So sometimes I help people start to play with the energy through that system so that they can make the changes, especially, when someone has tried traditional mindset things or traditional therapy or traditional coaching and it hasn't worked. Those things are great and they do work for some people, but I really invite people to start getting curious about the energy if those other means haven't really gotten them to where they go. So there's no one right way with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it just makes, yeah, it makes us more free flow, right? We get to the things we want easier, faster, without that hustle mindset or the
Right.
shoulda, woulda, must have, well, all the stuff that we talked about so far. So appreciate you sharing that with us. And Kat, because the entrepreneurship journey, I should say, is a very lonely journey at times.
It is.
What are some lessons that you have learned as an entrepreneur in growing your own business that you feel will be valuable for other people in the journey? We're all people that are walking alongside a similar journey.
Mhm.
I think it's always valuable to hear other entrepreneurs' perspective on that.
I I would find support, whether it's through a coach, but also even just colleagues. You don't have to like necessarily pay for coaching, but it is a lonely journey. So if we can find people that we resonate with to either mastermind with or talk about these frustrations when they come up. I would just say don't do it alone, but also learn to trust yourself, like energetically, and go in and is this person or is this group really worth my time and my energy? Can they really support me, or is it just like fluff or hype? So really turn in. But I would find support because it is a lonely journey, like the solo entrepreneurship.
Yeah. Yeah. Support and the intuition, the skill that we were never taught, which is a habit. And it's the strongest, powerful thing we have.
Can I say one thing about that? We're either sometimes not taught, you're right, or those of us that have had it stronger and are much older than you, it was kind of like beaten out of us or like told not to trust it or listen to. So unlearning some of that programming or rewiring so we can trust it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Kat, thank you so much. I enjoyed our conversation. I wish we could go on and on with really sharing so much wisdom here, but we have reached the end of our show. I would love for you to give our audience a final message around what does it mean for you to live a life on purpose? And also, where is it that people can continue the conversation with you?
I think to live a life on purpose, I love that question, is to really go inside and trust yourself and decide what matters to you, what is most important to you, and start to follow the breadcrumbs, if you will, on how to navigate that more and just trust the steps and trust the process and flow, like you said. So thank you for having me here. I hope it's been of value to your audience. Elona, people can find me at katmoulton.com, KatMoulton.com, and I'm on social media, and look for me there.
All right, definitely go check out Kat. She's also in our community at the Live School, so definitely go back and connect with her and really build meaningful relationships. I think that's another very important thing.
Yeah.
What is my aim with also the show and the podcast that we do? That besides all the information, the great wisdom that everybody shares, the juice is really in the continuing of the relationships and connections that we get to build as human beings. So thank you so much for being part of our show. Thank you for listening, and you know where to find us on all our social media channels and all major podcast platforms. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll see you in the next show. Bye, everybody. I am offering a free 30-minute discovery strategy business growth call for you in order to help you discover the foundational gaps that you might have between your book publishing, branding, marketing, sales, systems, and team so that you can make more impact and income in your business this year. Even if you decide not to receive the further support that I could provide for you, you will still walk away with amazing wisdom and value from my 20-year experience in helping entrepreneurs and growing my own successful business in what are some of the gaps that you are experiencing and how to connect those gaps with your ultimate business and life vision. Schedule a call now as my calendar gets booked very fast so that you could take advantage of this 30-minute opportunity to have a personalized chat together.